I love cliches.
Okay.
And I used to do a presentation called Death by Cliche, because the minute that you say, you've all heard this, right? Yes. Well, it's wrong. Ooh, let me listen. So whatever is common knowledge that everybody knows about, I like to turn that on its ear.
Oh, I
So
love it.
I love talking about things. I'll say something along the lines of, is knowledge power? And everybody goes, yes, knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Power is derived from how you use your knowledge.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business. Hey there, welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencer. Ginger Bell is here. Scott Schang is back from Michigan. We're glad to have you back. And our special guest star today is Steve Richman, and I'm excited to have him. Woo! I need to get
excited to be here.
Frank has some little side sounds that he has. I need to get some of those. That's on the list for 2023. So I'm excited to have you join us. I know you and I had booked this a while ago as far as doing this. And so I'm happy to have you here. Belated happy birthday to you. I think it was the 28th. Is that right?
Wow, that's really good. No, I'm happy to be here with you, Ginger. You're my buddy. You're my pal. You had a big birthday this year. I'm happy to be here with Scott. This is exciting. This is fun. And right there, I'm already giving tips. You know, one of the things you said you wanted to talk about was, how do you get booked to be a speaker at places? And bottom line, just suck up to the host. You know, I mean, when you do that, then they just say, yes, we'll be able to get you there.
I love it. And Frank has joined us. Hey, Frank. You're muted. Famous last words.
You know, I give people sad trombone on Breakfast Club when they're muted. You know, I give them the sad trombone.
Okay, so I'm sure you know Steve. Steve, I'm sure you know Frank, but we'll do an informal introduction here.
I think I met Frank probably I actually remember, I think it was around 15 years ago, but I can tell you it was in Virginia. We were in the basement of a meeting room, and we were all talking about how to start all these video blogcast and podcast and all of that on video and how to do that. It was in Virginia, and that's where I met Frank.
What a trip. Yeah. I have no recollection of it whatsoever, just so you know, but I believe it.
But when you were like baseball
basements besides just Virginia.
If you told me there was a couple of bottles of whiskey involved, I wouldn't doubt that either.
This was before your baseball shirt days. That's how far back we're going.
That goes way back. Yeah.
We were talking about appraisals also, about they were making all the changes to the appraisal forms, and you were
you're going way back.
Yeah.
I'm old school. Look.
Yeah.
I'm old. What can I tell you?
Okay, so I'm going to do a little setup here. So Steve and I have known each other for a long time. Steve was the national trainer for Genworth for 18 years, you say, right?
Yep. And they're now Enact Mortgage Insurance.
Oh, okay.
Haven't
kept up with the name changes, but you and I've seen you speak on a lot of different topics, and I think that's really what I'd love to have you share is for those of you who are looking at expanding your world into doing more public speaking, whether it's lunch and learns, whether it's meeting with chambers, whether it's, getting out to the conferences. Scott, you've been speaking a lot lately. And so, and I know for you, that is not something that's always comfortable. We've talked about that before. And me as well. It's like, I've been speaking for a long time. I teach people how to speak, and I still get nervous on stage. Yeah. And so, it's like, I'd love to have you kind of share just how do you get booked? I mean, what are you doing? First of all, how you get booked, and then coming up with topics. So let's unpack that, shall we, in 30 minutes?
Okay.
And go.
There you go.
There you go.
Who's that?
You're a bunch of speakers now. Who wants to speak? Well, the first thing is, let me say, yes, I get nervous before I speak every single time. I
Really?
do. I don't care if it's in front of 5 people, 1,000 people, if it's a speech, it doesn't matter, because everybody says, oh, you're doing the same thing over and over again. It is absolutely different every single time that I do it, because personally, I am not a slide reader. I'm an audience reader, and I see where the audience wants to go. So I sort of, till I know I got the audience hooked, there's that adrenaline. It's the roller coaster, right? I know it's going to be a fun ride, but how's that first drop really going to hit, and how's it going to feel?
Right.
So being nervous all the time. But I would flip something you said there, Ginger. The first thing you said was, how do you get booked? And then how do you pick topics? I think that's the exact reverse order of how I do it. How I do it is I look to see what topics there are and then see who wants to talk about those topics.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you don't have a topic, then it's hard to say, hey, book me to speak. So
I learned a long time ago, and this was when I used to do this, I would go in, and I won't mention any names, but it rhymes with the word bag star. So I went up the bag star flank. Okay, let's just call it that. We won't say who it was. And I hold them very dear. They're wonderful, wonderful people. But I remember I walked in the first time, and they were like, "Oh, we heard you're a very good speaker. We'd like you to speak at a conference. What can you speak on?" And I said, "I can speak on basically whatever. What are you all looking for? I can speak on whatever it is." And everybody just had that look on their face, like, don't make us pick. What are you bringing to
Where's
us?
your menu, man? Yeah, give us your speaking menu. Yeah,
there you go, Frank.
Right.
It's where's your menu? And it was right then that I said, I got to get me a Chinese menu so I can go in and say, column A, column B, and column C, because everybody loves Chinese food, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first step, is to figure out what it is. And for me personally, what I realized, and I think Frank did this when I first saw him speak, he said, I don't want to speak about a product that everybody else knows, that are guidelines, and everybody go, oh yeah, the Fed's done this, or, oh, here's a new product and here's what the new DTI ratio is going to be. And it became, okay, what is something that people care about, but not everybody else is talking about, but they'll be able to apply.
I love it.
And that's where Frank got in, and he said, okay, I'm watching all this stuff with video. Nobody knows what they're doing with video. So, hey, let's go talk about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but that's
no, that was it. Yeah, back in the day, yeah, exactly. It's like we were doing something and nobody else was doing it, so we thought, well, this is probably something good we could talk about, right? Yeah. So,
and that's the other thing. You were doing something. People love your experience, so it's a whole lot easier to go out and say, okay, this is something that I've done. This is what's been successful. So let me share that best practice with other people, as opposed to just reading a guideline or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So when you pick topics, do you look for like questions people are asking throughout social media? Because I mean, I think that's part of the discovery phase, as far as what are people needing right now? Like right now, the market is shifting. And so shifted and shifting again today.
First,
continually
Shifting, but not unusual for our industry. So how do you find what people are wanting those topics on in the first place? Where do you do your research? Like, putting together a menu, you're going to start from scratch. You haven't done anything. Where would you go look for those topics?
I love cliches.
Okay.
And I used to do a presentation called Death by Cliche, because the minute that you say, you've all heard this, right? Yes. Well, it's wrong. Ooh, let me listen. So whatever is common knowledge that everybody knows about, I like to turn that on its ear. So I love talking about things. I'll say something along the lines of, is knowledge power? And everybody goes, yes, knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Power is derived from how you use your knowledge. Right. So as soon as you take the thing that they thought that they knew and you show them, it's not diametrically opposed. It's not the exact, it's not that it's wrong, but it needs to be tweaked to be effective. That's when you start to grab them, and you do that. I'm writing an article right now. And before we got on, I'm going through my last paragraph, and it's going to be something along the lines of, we've been hearing employers say for how long, family first, Health is important. We care about our employees. Let's have work-life balance. And we don't believe in doing things the same way because that's how we've always done it. And now that we're looking at hiring all of these Gen Zs and we're saying, hi, you have to go through the way that we've always done it. Stop being so soft. Stop being so weak. You have to work 9 to 5. I'm going, wait a second. You've been saying this for how long that you want to change things? And now here's a generation saying we want to change things. Boom. Now I got something to talk about, right?
Very good. So for a loan originator that's listening to this, and they say, okay, I want to speak to a realtor association, or I want to, go to some of the bigger broker offices and do a session that's not on guides, that's not on, how can they discover what to do that on? Just coming up with topics.
Look at what's your objection and what are the other problems that those people are having. First thing, you ask any real estate agent, they're in the same boat as any originator right now. They're going, inventory's down, everything's down. How do I get in front of these people? Boom. Let me show you how to do video to be able to, let me improve your marketing. Let me do something like that. I started, and I think that this is really important. If I'm a loan originator and I go in front of a real estate agent, what's the first question a real estate agent or a consumer asks? What's your rate, right? If I could tell you that's the wrong question, actually, the first question that you should be asking is, can I get this approved? Because if you can't get the loan approved, it doesn't matter what the rate is. So let me take you back to the approval process and why I'm the best at the approval process. See, we always go where they think is the right answer. And we say, oh, that might not be exactly right. Let me back you up. So I talk about the approval process. I talk about how to meet, market, and get in front of people. That's the types of stuff that we want to do.
Nice. And I love that. So talking about how to meet and market, because I think a lot of realtors are probably struggling with that because they have not had to do a lot of marketing over the past several years. So, getting into that is a great topic to be able to do. Do you suggest for originators to maybe meet with a broker and ask them maybe for some of their input to come up with a list of topics? And the reason I ask this is, we're coming into 2023. I think having an option for originators to have maybe a list of here's some things that I can speak on over the year, to where maybe you're setting that up to not just be coming in once, but setting them up to come in quarterly, and for originators to kind of put that list together. So would it be something to sit down with a broker and say, what are some of the challenges you're facing? What would you like to see help with your broker, with your realtors?
I love that you asked that question because, Ginger, you know what the answer is to that
I'm
question.
asking you, my friend.
Of course, that's a wonderful thing to do. It's a great thing to do, is to ask them the question. But let's take it to the next step.
Cool.
You said here, a lot of people, they don't like being on camera. They don't like public speaking. You find a real estate agent that doesn't like public speaking, and this is what you say. Hi, I'm going to ask you, just like you and I are doing right here, or the four of us are doing on this, we're filming this right now, we're on video. Hi, we're going to create a video together where you could say, hey, Steve, what's the question that you have burning? How do I get in front of more customers right now? And then I give you the answer to that. And so therefore, all of a sudden, you're giving them video content to put on their own channel, whatever it is, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, boom. You're creating that video content for them by answering their question and giving them the solution at the same time. Now you have other real estate agents that are banging on the door. So I do this Tuesdays and Fridays on LinkedIn. Friday, what did I do? Last week, I said, every Friday I go on, I say, this is somebody that you need in your network. Number one, it's video. So I have more people watching it than anything that I've ever posted because people want to watch video.
Video works.
And I'm talking about what? Somebody else. Well, that somebody else goes, oh my God, thank you so much for mentioning me. Then they play my video. Then I have other people that know that person say, I agree. And all of a sudden, what have you done? Exponentially. Because you said, how do you get in front of other people? One way to get in front of other people is to talk about other people and don't talk about yourself.
So I love that. And so Steve, he did that for me. Was it last Friday? I think it was last Friday. Yes. So thank you for that.
I timed it with this.
I know it's good timing.
Yeah.
You're smart man. And so same thing. So being strategic, and I love the idea. And so we didn't do a video together. We could have done a video together, but I like the way that you did it because you did your own video saying, hey, here's someone you need to know, Ginger Bell. And so I love the idea of doing that. And you have picked a day of the week, so it becomes a repeatable habit. And it's something that people expect. And people feel special. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, Steve loves me. And it did. There was a lot of people that commented. I shared it. All those kind of things, and it expands your influence. So even if you don't want to get together with the person or you can't get together, I love the idea of just that endorsement of here's someone you need to know, and this is why. So simple thing. I love it. So for those people that are not comfortable in front of a group, and again, we all speak a lot. I don't think you get nervous anymore at all.
I always do. Sure. Anytime. Yeah. If I'm going to speak somewhere or get up on the stage, it's like, okay, I hope this goes well. Yeah, always, man. I don't think you can't not, I know Carl says the same thing. Carl's been on stage a bazillion trillion times. He has multiple events every year.
Yeah.
He's up there all the time, but he always says, man, I'm still always just a little nervous. You get up there and to speak. But I'd say this with regard to public speaking, especially now in this market as an originator, man, this is a really, really important thing to, if you're not feeling comfortable, just you gotta find a way to get over it. You just really do. And I think the best way to get over it is just get out there and do it. Right. And, Steve, I don't know about your experiences, but my experience has been, especially with the real estate community, if you can connect with a sales manager at a larger real estate company or whatever, if you've got something worthy of talking about and you run it past them, hey, I can do a 15-minute, presentation for your peeps if you want one of these days at one of your sales meetings on this, you'll find that you can book those gigs pretty easily, just simply because a lot of real estate sales managers are always looking for something. It's tough being a real estate sales manager and you having to come up with what you're going to talk about every single week or whatever the case may be. It's always great to bring in guest speakers. They always do. I mean, I don't know any Keller Williams team meeting that I've ever been to or office sales meeting that I've ever been to, they've always had a guest. Some guests, now they're not going to give them an hour and a half, but they get like 15 minutes, something like that. So I just think there's great opportunity in it. Why not get in front of people and say some things, give them something to value though. Steve's right, man. You want to, for sure, you want to have something, that they're thinking of. I don't know that products are necessarily the thing. Maybe they are though. Maybe you got something really, really cool. But I think today they're looking for, hey man, how can I pick up a deal? I want to pick up a deal. And so if, you've got some insight on how to do that, then you've got something to talk about, and I think it's a brilliant thing to do. Public speaking is always great. Steve, you got Steve, Scott, Ginger, all of us here. Anytime that any of us have gone and done some sort of a presentation, be it 15 minutes or an hour long, whatever it is, after that presentation, do not, several people come up to you and go, can I get your card? Here's my card. Hey, can we talk later? I got something I want to talk to you about. Does that not always happen?
Absolutely.
Every single time. So as an originator, if you can find your way into finding something you can speak about, and I would say this, man, really focus on those short presentations, 15-minute presentation. 15-minute presentations, you can find yourself shoehorning yourself into real estate meetings pretty easily. And you'll get people that get to know you. Then of course the magic is in the follow-up. Always. That's what we teach at Loan Officer Breakfast Clubs, what we teach at Mortgage Marketing Animals. Follow-up is key. Money's in the follow-up, right? You can have a great speaking event, great thing, get business cards, but if you don't follow up, you might as well have not even done it.
Well, the follow-up, having something of value to give them, I think, as a follow-up too, that you're going to say, hey, you know what? I have a one sheet, it can be a one sheet page as far as, here's here's the, top things for TikTok that you need to do for a video, or, something, then that gives you another reason to follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I go back to something that Frank said, the two things that I think about, especially for somebody that's nervous about when they go out there and they speak. First off, as soon as you come in from outside the organization, you have automatic credibility and authority. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves the third party person. And even if you say something that the person already knows, you know what you just did? You reaffirm that they're right.
Yeah.
So they love you for saying what they're already doing or what they're already thinking.
So true.
And the other thing is, and I learned this actually, and you mentioned Vegas before. I was speaking out in Vegas. I was in Mandalay Bay. They got a big theater downstairs. And I had one guy that was just ripping into me beyond the heckler in Vegas, go figure, right? And I realized something. We all learned something in first grade. When the teacher brings in guest speakers, what are we all supposed to be on?
Our best
behavior.
On your best behavior. His own company turned on him for being rude to me. They're like, so wait, you're showing us as being a mean company when you have this person who came in to talk and help us. You're going to be mean to that person. They all turned on him and became twice as nice to me. It was an amazing concept to watch that dynamic happen in the crowd, because they were all taught in first grade, be nice to the person outside, being your best behavior.
Well, and you talk about, and when you have hecklers, it's hard. Anytime you have someone that throws you off can be hard. For me, when I first get started, I always have, the butterflies in my stomach. And I used to be a corporate trainer with Dale Carnegie Training. And it's like, we don't want to get rid of the butterflies. What we want to do is to get the butterflies to fly in formation. Butterflies are good. So what are some things that you do right before you get on stage to be able to focus on those first words? Because I always feel like if I can get that first sentence out and feel the crowd, as you said, then the rest kind of lays out. So what do you do?
Me? People laugh at me because they say I'm in pregame. If you haven't noticed so far, I'm a pretty hyper dude. I am energy. That's what I am. I don't say like a word for 15 minutes before I speak, because I sit there and I watch and I listen to everything that's happening. So if I hear someone come in and they say something, I'm like, I'm going to open up with that because I heard something they just said. If I look at somebody and they come in and they look all grumpy, that is not the first person I'm calling on. If I see somebody who comes in with a big red shirt and balloons and this and that, or they say it's someone's birthday, what a great way to walk on stage and say, hey, Ginger, I heard it's your birthday today. So before we start anything, and now you got the entire group on your side because you know something personal about them and you're making it positive. So I always listen very hard to who's walking in the door, who's engaged, who's already in a bad mood. And I try and focus and go in on that positive energy as opposed to the negative.
Love it. Yeah, and focusing on that, it helps set the tone. And it also, I love the fact as far as bringing them in to your presentation from the beginning, because, and I used to speak on a bunch of very boring topics. And so it's like, okay, I want to capture their attention right away because I don't want them, looking at me, in this weird zombie look and losing them. So starting off with something where you're going to engage them, you're going to be able to capture their attention, and involving them is key to doing that as well.
And self-deprecating is always great.
Yeah, true.
When you look at my bio, I'm a lawyer, okay? And everybody loves to, and he's a lawyer. And I interrupt all the time. He's a lawyer. I go, who wants a hug? Right? Because nobody likes the lawyer. So I'm making fun of myself. Okay, we're there. And I've just sort of eased the room a little bit.
Yeah, that's important. So what happens, and let's talk about, when you do get that heckler, because that does happen. And I think depending on the topic, I used to get hecklers a lot when I did compliance training.
Really?
Not because they wanted
people heckling you?
Because they didn't, I was
whatever, Red.
I was delivering things.
I don't think so, Four Eyes.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like this?
Yeah.
Like heckling?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. It was like,
Wow.
because I was delivering information that they didn't necessarily want to do because it was on, regulatory changes. And so, it was something that I learned, and deflecting, I think, is good. I love the fact that the audience supported you. And sometimes that happens. But what are the things when you do have someone that maybe isn't paying attention, or maybe you're in the middle of a presentation and you're like, okay, this is not going as planned. How can you get it back on track?
Yeah.
Those were like 6 different questions you just asked.
I know.
there.
I have.
Which
So
one's it?
I'm just saying, when you have a heckler, when it goes, I mean, how can you get a session back on track?
Well, number one, as soon as if I see somebody texting, and it's
Mm.
always going to happen, that's life today. I always just look right at that person. I go, oh my God, look at that, Ginger, you're texting. You're probably texting how awesome this session is. As soon as you call the person out on that and make that little joke, boom, everybody's hands come up into the air and they're like, no, not me. I'm not texting. Right?
Ken Perry does the dancing thing.
Right. So you just sort of like bust them on it a little bit. I have gone so far as to look at somebody and say, I'm sorry you're not enjoying this session. If you'd like to leave, really, that's okay with me, because I'd like to continue with the session for those people who'd like to stay here.
Yeah, I've done that with people before too, in teaching CE classes.
Yeah.
Really? I don't know that I've ever had that happen.
Because
to
you're
me.
so cool, Frank. I mean,
I'm just trying to think. I mean, I've had engagement with the audience for sure. You know what I mean? But I don't think I've ever had anybody like really being negative and like heckling in any way. Like,
I invite
I always look, if there's going to be, I've never had a heckler, but you definitely can tell people that aren't interested or they're not engaged, especially when you go to a real estate office, because they kind of have to be there and they're working on whatever their contract is. But there's always more than one person that's really engaged. And so I speak to that person, and the people around them. There's always somebody that's paying attention, that's nodding, that you can say, see, you have had this experience. And, and I think another piece of this as well is, you wouldn't be there if you didn't have something to say. And people aren't asking you to change their world. They're just looking for a different perspective on things. Like you said, if we're originators, we are having the same issues with borrowers that real estate agents are, but we're having like a little bit different perspective. And I would say during chaotic times are when it's been the easiest for me to get the Association of Realtors to have you come in. We did I did a webinar about 2 weeks ago for an office, and all their loan officers invited their real estate agents. It was just on unpacking temporary breakdown or temporary buy downs. It was temporary versus permanent. And it was seller concession, seller paid discount points is what it was. There were 44 agents on there for like a 20-minute thing. And all of the questions were just, I've got these situations. I'm going to contact you after this. There was a lot of hard questions, that I didn't know the answer to, like how do you put it on the contract and things like that. And I'm like, that's a great question. That sounds like something you would ask Steve, ask your attorney how you're supposed to put it on the contract. I'm just giving you this broad understanding of this thing that's in the news and everybody's talking about, but here's really a little bit focused attention on unpacking this thing. It is interesting how the fear of public speaking is so strong against everybody. What was the old, I don't know if it's still true, but they say that fear of public speaking is like number 2 to death.
Yeah.
And I'm sure taxes are up there somewhere. It's like, but it's interesting because, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit, Steve, the very fact that you get up on stage, you already kind of have this authority because everybody's out there saying, gosh, I'm afraid to stand up in front of somebody. So
it's not me.
I'm glad it's not me. And you literally, the only thing that can screw it up is if like you passed out and fell on the floor, but then you wouldn't even know it. You would, but other than that, you get up there and you just, another thing that worked for me is you're usually educating and informing. I find like if you feel like the outcome of this is like, I need 3 deals out of this, that puts you in the wrong mindset. You're not there to sell these people. It's not what it is. It's not a timeshare presentation. You're building goodwill and you're building trust. And when people see that you have authority on this, and quite frankly, it's as a problem solver, right? You don't go up there, you go up there and you say, we all have the same problems. Here's how I'm trying to solve it. And these things are really interesting to unpack, because it's just literally the decision to be uncomfortable in the moment, because as soon as you start speaking, the adrenaline takes over and you don't care, right? It at least for me. But I go crazy before I'm getting ready to speak. I got the butterflies. I'm like, I hope I don't screw this up. But the second you're up there, you're just like, well, it's too late now. Can't turn back now. And you click.
But you're dead on when you say, and Ginger said, how do you get back on track? The answer is don't concentrate on the one person who's unhappy. Concentrate on the 99% of people that are.
That's
and
right.
9 times, I asked the rest of this panel. Now, I always go up to the person afterwards that did not look happy, and I'll say something like, I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy that. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, this is just the way that I look. I actually really enjoy that. I've been told that my whole life, that I have RBF or whatever you want to call it.
This is my happy face. What are you talking about?
I had a guy say to me last week, this goes back 7th grade. My teacher would always say to me, why do you hate me? It happens all the time. So stop getting into their mind, thinking that you know
into yours
about you.
Yeah, I mean, into yours. And Scott, I love the fact that when you are passionate about what you're talking about, and you're bringing value,
Yep.
That is going to help them, then that gets you over that. And so just a matter of getting started. So we are at our time, which I knew that this conversation, we could go on and on forever. It's like, bring out the whiskey, Frank. Let's just sit down.
Hey, sober 7 years. So no, 7.5. I don't know what it is. A lot of years.
A lot of years.
Yeah.
But I want Steve to be able to share, because you are available for hire, I understand, not from the attorney standpoint, but from the speaking standpoint. So tell our viewers, our listeners, where they can find you and what's on that Chinese list right now as far as the menu.
Well, website gets launched on Friday this week. It's Steve Richman, like what I want to be. Richman. None of this Virginia stuff. So literally right now, my email address is imsteverichman@gmail.com. I am Steve Richman. You can find me right there, or go to steverichman.com come Monday. What do I speak about? The number one thing that I'm speaking about right now is the Cynic's Guide to Motivation, Success, and Happiness. Everybody's in a bad mood right now. Everybody goes, yeah, this is a cycle. I'll show you how to change that mindset so they'll be able to make all of it happen. That's the main thing that I'm doing right now.
I love
the old turn that frown upside down.
Yeah.
That's right.
Acknowledging that there's a reason to frown right now, but a lot of it's just noise. We need to talk about Tom and Giselle. Talk about what's really important.
You are right. I agree. Good stuff.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to have you back on in 2023 to talk about that a little bit, and how to have that mindset. I think that's a great topic. And we want to thank you so much for joining us. Always
surround people like the 3 of you, and that's going to put a good mindset in you, man. Get a good core of people that you're with, and it's always going to make things feel like they can work out.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. So, hey guys, next week on Wednesday, we have Robbie Chrisman on.
Oh, right.
Chrisman.
So he knows, right?
He does.
He knows he's supposed to be here.
I did. Because we had his Rob Chrisman on, and he said, I told him that we were having Robbie on. He goes, does he know? I said, he communicated with me. So
yeah, he knows.
He said, Robbie,
are you sure?
By the way,
I just want to remind him
that we have this on the calendar. And he goes, Tell my dad it is on the calendar.
So funny. That'll be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
yourself
So I'm
good
excited
people. The
about
Christians
that.
are good people. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Very
for
good
sure.
people. Yeah.
You too, Steve. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Again,
thanks,
thank
Steve.
you so much. Great seeing you. And I look forward to seeing the new website on Friday. We'll have to post it into our group.
Happy holidays to y'all.
Okay. Thanks,
Happy
guys.
holidays.
We'll see you
See y'all
next
later.
week.
Bye.
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 Bye.